Aita for telling my mill that her generous offer was actually a manipulative way to control my life. Throwaway because my mill and maybe even my fiancé read Reddit. This is a dumpster fire right now. Okay, so I have 30, am engaged to my fiancé Mark, I'm 31. We're getting married in 6 months. Mark's family, especially his mother Mill, are a lot. They're quite wealthy and traditional, and frankly, Mill has a habit of trying to micromanage everything in Mark's life, and by extension, now mine. The big drama started around the wedding venue. Mark and I found this beautiful, slightly unconventional place that we both absolutely loved. It's an old, restored theater downtown, exposed brick, a bit quirky, totally us. It's also pricey, but within our budget if we make some compromises elsewhere. We were so excited. We told Mill and Phil. Phil was reserved but seemed okay. Mill, she visibly recoiled. Her dream, apparently, was for us to get married at the same exclusive country club she got married at, where all their friends have weddings. She started immediately listing all the problems with the theater venue. Parking will be a nightmare. It's not sophisticated enough. What about the acoustics for the string quartet I was planning? We weren't planning a string quartet. Then came the offer. Mill sat us down and said, very formally, that while she and Phil were disappointed we weren't considering the country club, they understood it was our day. But, because the theater venue was so much more expensive than what they had budgeted for, which we never asked them to budget for, we had our own budget. They would graciously offer us a substantial sum of money, enough to cover about 40% of the theater venue cost. It sounded generous, right? Mark thought so. I was immediately wary. Mill's gifts always come with strings. I thanked them, but said we had our budget covered and would be fine. Mill got this tight, almost angry look. She said, nonsense, darling. A wedding should be a celebration, not a financial stressor. We want to do this for you. She kept pushing. Phil added that it was a genuine wedding gift, no strings attached. Mark was beaming, thanking his parents profusely, saying how amazing they were. I felt cornered. Eventually, I caved and accepted, still feeling uneasy. Later that week, Mill started sending me links to florists near the country club, links to bakers who only deliver to the country club. She started asking about decor choices that would only make sense at the country club. When I gently reminded her we were having the wedding at the theater, she'd get flustered and say things like, oh, right. Well, this florist might make an exception, or it's just so much easier with vendors who know the traditional venues. The final straw came last night. We were at their house for dinner. Mill brought up the venue again. She said, now, about the ceremony flow at the theater. I was thinking it might be easier to have the reception at the country club after. Just the reception, you know, for dancing and easier bar service. I snapped. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Mill, with all due respect, this stops now. We chose the theater. We love the theater. Your generous offer wasn't about helping us. It was about buying control over our wedding to force it into being your dream wedding at your preferred venue. You didn't give us that money to help us have our day. You gave it to try and manipulate us into having your day. The table went silent. Phil looked horrified. Mark looked utterly stunned and then furious. Mill's face crumbled. She started crying, saying how could I be so cruel, that they were only trying to help, that I was ungrateful. Mark jumped up, yelling that I had massively overstepped, insulted his parents, and ruined the evening. He said I was being paranoid and that their offer was genuine and I was just being difficult and unappreciative. We left immediately. Mark is barely speaking to me, saying I owe his mother a huge apology and that if I can't be respectful to his family, maybe we need to rethink things. Mill is apparently distraught. Part of me feels justified because I truly believe her gift was manipulative and a way to leverage control. But another part of me is reeling from the fallout. Did I handle it badly? Should I have just accepted the money and ignored the suggestions? Was I too harsh? Aita for calling out my Mill's offer as manipulative control instead of just accepting it quietly. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your fiancé is an idiot, but he's been manipulated by his parents his entire life, so he cannot see the forest for the trees. You did right by sticking up for yourself against her passive-aggressive behavior. Just know that it will never end. Consider that if you continue with the relationship and wedding. Thank you for telling me what I needed to hear. Commenter to info. Are you sure the venue you chose is what your fiancé wants? He might be using his mother to make his point if he's turned his anger on you here. He has never suggested otherwise and has been enthusiastic talking about the venue I chose. Update. It has only been 2 days since that dinner, but it feels like everything has unraveled. Mark and I barely spoke after we left his parents' house. I tried to explain where I was coming from again, calmly this time, but he shut down. He said I embarrassed him and hurt his mother. He kept repeating that I was being dramatic and ungrateful. It felt like I was talking to a stranger. Then yesterday, I found out something that broke me. A friend of mine saw Mark having lunch with another woman. At first, I told myself it was probably innocent. I wish it had been. But when I confronted him, he admitted it. He has been seeing someone else. It started a few weeks ago. And the worst part, it was someone his mother introduced him to. Someone from her country club circle. She kept telling him this girl came from a better family and was more compatible with the kind of life they had planned for him. He said it was not serious. That he was confused. That I had been so angry all the time and he felt pushed away. I could not believe what I was hearing. I asked him if he ever truly wanted to marry me, or if I was just the easy choice until his mother pushed him to upgrade. He did not answer, so I ended it. I packed a bag and left. We had not sent out invitations yet. The venue can still be cancelled, mostly refunded. What hurts most is not losing the wedding. It is realizing I was trying to fight for someone who would not fight for me, who let his mother control him to the point that he let her hand him a replacement. I am heartbroken, angry, numb, but somewhere deep down, I also feel relieved. I would rather walk away now than stay and become someone small enough to fit inside their picture-perfect frame. Thank you to everyone who commented before. You helped me see that I was not imagining things, that I was not crazy for wanting to protect the life I was trying to build. Later, I stood up to my mill. 2 days later, I found out my fiancé was cheating on me with the woman his mother introduced him to. I ended the engagement. I am devastated, but I know I just dodged a life of being treated like I was never enough. Relevant comment commenter 1. You didn't lose a partner, you lost a puppet and his puppeteer. Proud of you for choosing peace over performance. Best wishes, Op. Thanks for this. I appreciate your word story to Aita. I was yelled at today by a male co-worker and clapped back. I was yelled at today by a male co-worker and clapped back. Still unsure if I did the right thing. I'm part of a team of 6 developers and I'm the only woman in the team. We have several teams and I get along well with everyone. I'm usually thought of us as nice to everyone and joking around, etc. I've heard several co-workers tell me that they enjoy working with me. Today I got into an altercation with one of my male co-workers. He is stubborn and is known to have outbursts at people, especially if we don't do exactly as he wants us to. He seems to struggle with nuances and gets mad at you if you don't solve something code related in the way that pleases him. He has been working at this company for over 10 years, whereas I've been here for a year, so there's that. I've never been micromanaged by someone as much as him, and he is not even my manager or boss. In short, the altercation was this: I was handed a document with descriptions of how certain software components in our code base is intended to work. Some of the descriptions are newly revised, so I have to rewrite code to fit the new description. The descriptions were unclear, so I decided to email the engineer who had written the document. He is very well versed into the system design of these components. We can call him M. As I was typing my email, my male co-worker exploded and was yelling, "I know these things, you should ask me. Stop bothering M." I'm usually cold in these situations and don't really care about his outbursts, but this one really caught me due to his usage of the words bothering. I was typing a 2-sentence email, and he made it sound like I was sending him 100 of emails. I looked back and responded, "I'm sorry. Are you my boss or something?" I'm emailing him because I want his explanation since he has written this document. And he responded by saying, "You're so rude. That's so rude of you," and I was like, "Yeah, then go and cry about it." When I said the last words, the entire landscape went quiet. Usually no one stands up to this co-worker, and he is having angry outbursts without anyone stepping in, and this is the first time I stood up for myself. Did I do something wrong in this situation? Like, is it normal to have these outbursts at co-workers? I'm second-guessing myself all the time, but I really feel like he is the unreasonable one. Most liked comment said, "Okay, you aren't the asshole. He went ballistic and has done it many times before. Telling him to cry about it is definitely not nearly as bad. But it wasn't a smart move. Instead, what you should do is every time he lashes out, report it. This is the only way he will ever stop or be punished. If not and it happens to you, then it's insanely clear that you don't want to be in this company. There is plenty of demand for people in IT. And a lot of companies are even desperate for female employees or over the moon to have them. Good luck with this nasty issue. Story 3. Aita for moving into a studio apartment away from my mother-in-law who moved in. Long story short, my boyfriend's mom is poor and had to move into my boyfriend and I's apartment last month because my boyfriend's brother who lived with her got them both evicted. He stole her car and wrecked it into their apartment and almost killed someone. He's currently in rehab, and before she moved in, I sat down with my boyfriend and laid out the requirements of her living here. She must cut off contact with his brother for his own good and never invite him over, as I'm afraid of him retaliating at our apartment and getting us evicted too. And she should stop enabling him with a constant safety net to continue his drug use. I know that sounds harsh, but it was the only way to actually force him to get help. This has been an almost decade-long battle of her enabling him, and he's not getting any better. My boyfriend agreed to this, and she agreed. Cut to 2 weeks in, I come home from work. My boyfriend and her are laughing about how they took his brother to Golden Corral when I was gone, and he was so high he was nodding off in the food. I was so upset that not only did she break the cardinal rule that I set for her, but that my boyfriend went along with it and did it too. I told him I felt betrayed, and that he just set a precedent to her that she can do whatever she wants now, because any rule set isn't actually going to be enforced, clearly by his example. He told me he did it because he thought it was too harsh after the fact without telling me he had changed his mind, and thereby going against our agreement. I otherwise wouldn't have let her live here rent-free. My boyfriend said putting her on the street was too harsh of a punishment for breaking the rules. But isn't that the point? Now she's telling us we need to do her chores when we pay the rent, because she doesn't want to do them, knowing he won't enforce or kick her out because he ultimately can't face the guilt of doing so. He has attachment issues with her and a heavy guilt complex. Our apartment lease is up in a couple months, and now that we're moving, she asked us, so where are we moving to? Fully expecting a free ride and free rent at our next place. I was so dumbfounded because she is only supposed to be here until she got housing. But low-income housing waiting list can be months, 2 years long. I don't want to live with her anymore because she walks all over us and causes tension between my boyfriend and I. He will never put her on the street because he's controlled by his guilt. When I asked what he plans to do, he said he isn't taking her to our next place. But that would ultimately leave her on the street, and I know deep down, even if we initially move without her, she will be back in a week or two because he'll feel guilty. I want to move into a studio apartment now, knowing that I don't believe he's going to let her go, and I've voiced this as a real possibility to him. But I'm being framed as trying to dismantle our relationship. Aita, a commenter said, NTA, don't sign a lease with him again. His word about how he'll handle his mother is worth less than nothing. She'll be back. Another commenter said, my question to Op is, why is he still your boyfriend? He should be your ex by now. Story for Aita for blowing up at my parents for something my adult sister did. I 26F have a sister, Amy 28F, who has always had a difficult relationship with food. She was bullied as a kid and turned to food for comfort. As an adult, she still struggles with self-control, especially around things she finds appetizing. Our parents have never set boundaries with her around food, and that's carried into adulthood. She currently lives with them, and they do all the grocery shopping and cooking. My husband 28M recently had a birthday, and I planned a surprise party. I sent him out of the house for a few hours so I could set up and asked my parents to come help. I specifically asked them not to bring Amy. Setting up involved putting out snacks, drinks, and a homemade cake with frosting. They showed up with Amy anyway, saying it wouldn't be fair to exclude her. I gave her a few small tasks and specifically asked her not to touch any of the food until guests arrived. But I was too busy to keep a constant eye on her. At one point, I went into the kitchen and found Amy with the fridge open, eating the frosting out of the mixing bowl. She had eaten nearly half of it. As soon as she saw me, she burst into tears and said she only meant to try a little but couldn't stop. My parents heard us and came in. My mom said it wasn't that big of a deal since the cake was untouched and I still had enough frosting for a crumb coat. But I had planned to do specific cake decorations, and now there wasn't enough frosting. I didn't have the time or ingredients to make more. My dad suggested going to the store to buy a tub of pre-made frosting, saying it was the same thing. I explained my husband tries to avoid a lot of the ingredients found in store-bought frosting and wouldn't want that. My dad said to just not tell him since he wouldn't even know the difference. That suggestion was super frustrating to me. I told my parents that they couldn't convince me that this was no big deal, and that they had allowed this by not setting boundaries with Amy's binge eating and by bringing her to set up. They told me to back off and be more sensitive to my sister, and that it wasn't her fault. I responded by saying that I was more angry at them, because at least Amy felt bad while they were trying to downplay the situation. They got upset and said it wasn't fair to blame them for Amy's choices, and that she was an adult and they can't control her. They also said that they were trying to help by giving suggestions, and that I was being stubborn by shutting all of them down. They ended up leaving, and now they're giving me the silent treatment, even though Amy has apologized for eating the frosting. Aita for involving them in this. Top comment said, NTA, you knew this could be a problem. You asked your parents to leave Amy at home. Your parents refused. You asked them to keep her out of the kitchen. They refused. Amy ruined your plans for the cake, and your parents gave unhelpful suggestions. And they're mad because you were right? Because you spoke up? No. Story 5. Aita for losing weight for my friend's wedding. Although I'm already the skinny friend, I F28 recently lost a fair bit of weight, and now my friend F30 is saying I'm trying to upstage her at her wedding. My best friend Emily got engaged at the end of last year and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was super happy and of course said yes. In the past 3 years I have put on some weight, about to dress sizes. It didn't really bother me until recently, so I decided to use the wedding as an excuse to lose some weight. I just find it easier to do if I have a goal and end date. This past weekend we were bridesmaid dress shopping, and Emily was acting kind of weird towards me, giving me funny looks and talking over me. The 2 other bridesmaids, one I'm friends with, the other I don't know very well, didn't seem to notice, so I brushed it off thinking she was just stressed. Me and Emily live really close to each other, so usually after something like this we would hang out for the day at one of our houses. At the end of the appointment I asked her whose house she wanted to go to, and she scoffed and told me she was going home. I asked what was wrong, and this is when she went off on me. I don't remember word for word what she said because I was so confused and shocked, but these are the bits I remember. She basically said it was clear I was trying to lose weight to upstage her for her wedding, that I was already the skinny friend and now I'm just trying to make it all about me, especially as I never cleared my weight loss with her. She said I clearly knew what I was doing was wrong, because I was still wearing oversized clothes to disguise my weight loss. I just haven't updated my wardrobe and prefer to be comfortable over wearing tight-fitting stuff. I don't consider myself skinny, but I am the smallest out of the 4 of us. I also didn't think about how changing my appearance would affect her vision for her wedding. I've never been a bridesmaid before, so I don't know if that was something I should have considered. So I don't think I'm the for losing the weight unless I am. But 8th for not telling her I was going to lose weight. Edit. Guys, I now know it's lose. I'm sorry for my dyslexia. I would go and edit all of them out but 1. I have been told there are many I'm too lazy for that, and 2. I now think it's hilarious how annoying you all seem to find it. Update. First off, thanks for all the support as well as all the spelling lessons. They have cheered me up a lot. Not sure if anyone wanted an update, but you're getting one anyway. I called my friend as I'm currently away for work, so couldn't meet face to face. Spoiler, it did not go well. I started by telling her it was not my intent to make her feel any kind of way, and tried to explain I had already been on my weight loss journey before she got engaged. I asked her if she really thought that I would be vindictive enough to try and upstage her at her wedding. Apparently, this was the wrong thing to say. She started ranting about how I think I'm better than her, how whenever we go out together no one ever looks at her, only at me. I don't think this is true, as she is very pretty and I'm pretty average looking. Here's where it gets bonkers bananas. She told me that her ex-boyfriend who recently got married is going to be at the wedding, and for while he was thinking of leaving his at the time fiancé to ask me out, but my friend convinced him not to. I had no idea any of this went on and would have been appalled because 1. That's just weird, and 2. He's my best friend's ex, and I'm now pretty sure she's still in love with him. I have been uninvited from the wedding unless I put the weight back on. Then I can come, but not as a bridesmaid. Safe to say I now have a new motivation to keep the weight off and shall not be attending any weddings in the near future. She's always had a temper and has flipped out at me over random stuff before, but nothing ever this insane. I guess I'm going to have to get better at identifying red flags. A commenter said, cleared your weight loss with her? Is she fucking kidding? That is the stupidest and most controlling thing ever. Some people. Sim, NTA. Final story. Aita for not helping my broke friend because she got a tattoo. One of my friends has been complaining about money a lot recently. It's gotten to the point where 2 days ago she said that she was so broke she wasn't able to afford to eat and was skipping whole days worth of eating because she just had no food. I felt sympathy because I've struggled a lot with finances. I still do a little bit, but not as badly as I used to. Since I'm doing okay enough to right now, I offered to help her out with food. I do a budgeting plan with my meals or meal prep where I use these compartment containers and I'll make 10 portions of 3 different meals every 2 weeks. I rotate the menu based on what's on sale. Then I put them into my deep freezer. I have ADHD and this works really well for me. I have a bit of extra meal stock at the moment because I don't always eat all the prepared trays before I make the next batch since I always do it every 2 weeks. I have around 25 extra meals in my freezer right now. Since I have extra, I was originally just gonna not meal prep at the start of next week, but instead I decided to offer to drop my friend off some of my surplus so she has something to eat. I was gonna drop it off today after work, but right when I was getting off work I was watching Snapchat stories and saw she posted one. She went and got a tattoo today as part of a Friday the 13th flash thing. I'm familiar with the artist who did the tat because I recognized their flash from their Instagram. I was considering going in for one but didn't do it cause I don't really have the extra money or they're all pre-priced prices and that one is 180. I don't know why, but it kinda PMO because she literally just told me about how she was so broke she couldn't afford to eat but yet was able to pay for a tattoo. When I was struggling financially I didn't get tattoos. I messaged her about it and asked about how she was able to afford a tattoo. And she basically just said I'm always able to scrounge up cash for new tattoos. I then told her that I'm not bringing her those meals because if she has enough for a new tattoo, she must not be that desperate. She freaked out on me and called me a bitch and said I was being classist and that poor people are allowed to have nice things. Which I do agree with, but I feel like it doesn't apply to this situation. But now I feel like an asshole and my friend is mad at me. Aita, someone in the comments said NTA. If she's always able to scrounge up cash for new tattoos, she should be able to scrounge up cash for food too. It sounds as if she was just giving you a sob story to get something for nothing. Another commenter added, or she had $180 put aside for food, but figured she conned op and maybe others into feeding her for the week, so she could put the money towards her tattoo. So now she has to find a new way to eat for the week. Lol. NTA obviously.